But guys, I appreciate you being here for season 2, episode 4 of Sikora Success. We have one of my best buddies, Steve Rosado, who's unfortunately my friend, and then Jim Syros, who's another good buddy of mine, and officially made the move from KW to Compass, and now is with us at eXp Realty, which for me is just a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, it's fun to bring the whole band back together, and we've been doing this since what, 08, 09?
Yeah, 09. Got into the business late 08 out of the mortgage business.
Yeah.
So it's a long time coming to get here.
Well, I remember when I think I was at Gotham Realty. I was at Gotham before you, I believe, and then I left and came back. And that was kind of right when you rolled in, right? I think you had come into Gotham Realty when we had I don't know, I think I was gone for 9 months or so, and I think you were there. It was like, when did you join Gotham?
I popped in, it was end of August. I was making my exit. I had gotten officially licensed, passed the school exam.
Okay.
Walked into Tim Bureau's office. Gotham Realty didn't want to be part of like the Remaxes or the big corporate real estate offices. So I did a little bit of quick research, saw the purple and black, and set up a time to meet with Tim Bureau. Walked in there and he's like, "Hey, this is I'm like, what do I need to do?" He's like, "Here's the contract, 50-50 split." I was like, "Sounds good to me. I'll see you on Monday." And basically got to coming in the office.
Yeah.
And we can get into that a little bit. Obviously, that's when I met you. Kyle had sat right next to Kyle Claus.
And we had Kyle Kovats back then too, who's another big guy now. And then you were, so I left. I think you were August of 09. You came in.
No, it's August.
And I left to go to Liberty Realty in June of 09, and then came back to Gotham in February. So you had a little bit of traction, and I think you came in right before I had come back, and you.
Yes. Yeah, I think I came in like a month before you came back. It was like October of 2009, something like that.
I remember me and you we sat across from each other. We had the stare down. Like,
no, thank you, Chemo Sabi.
Who the hell is this guy? I've already been here. Who's this new guy? And Jim was just head down, getting after it.
Head down, ready to get back to work.
Yeah. Well, that was like an interesting time too in our lives, because I feel like you were married, you're having kids and everything like that. Me and him are just complete. I'm 24, I want to say. You were behaving like 21, but older. And we're just getting after it every night. We're trying to break Jim. We're trying to get Jim to come into come on, man, we're going to the bar at 6:30. Let's go.
Which is
we're going to McSwiggins.
You have 2 young kids now, and I was kind of in that zone. And obviously, it's a little bit of timing, and a lot of years have passed. But it's a matter of setting stuff up in this business, right? To be able to kind of enjoy. Not just working 7 days a week, but also be able to have the quality life and be able to have some fun too, especially in a town like Hoboken, like you guys were doing. I didn't get to
it must have been
to experience that as well.
Tough to watch
at that stage. Yeah, it was tough
because I know I could see it in your eyes. Like, I want to be a part of that. I think there were times where you're like, guys,
that might be a different podcast, because I could, obviously with the recent current events of what's happening in my life and stuff like that, I might shed a little bit of light on why I was quickly rushing home. But anyway, what's interesting about that is full circle come to that point where we were all in that bit, in Hoboken. This has got to be 15 years ago now. What are you talking about?
It was 2000. Yeah, so it's 13 years ago.
13 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So lots obviously changed. In the business, from going from being talk about like CRMs and podcasts and stuff like that back then.
Yeah.
Even though Kyle tried doing a little episode, I remember I got caught on camera. I still like to find a video of that where they duped me into a fake interview with a client that was giving me a hard time. You guys remember that?
We gotta see that.
Yeah, that was Adam.
Do you have that?
Yeah. So that Adam was was just at his 40th birthday. It was similar to my daughter's first birthday, but the same balloon guy. I don't know if you saw the thing, but
no.
So Adam Fakir.
Yeah.
Adam Fakir was one of the actors. That's actually one of Kyle's good friends. They still hang out today.
Nice.
Yeah.
I remember he had set that up. And I had no clue that you guys were filming. Or they were filming.
Oh yeah, we did. We pranked him with it, right?
Yeah.
And I was meeting a client there. And
wait, so just so everybody understands, I forgot about this, but we Kyle, who's an actor as well, he brought in a film crew to basically. How did you not notice there was a camera there? Like, what it was? We must have told you something, or maybe they were with the client. But we were trying to film the Gotham Realty was crazy. It was a crazy time in our lives. Like, my whole goal with everybody that's a part of my family now is to not do what I did at Gotham Realty for 4 years or whatever.
We learned a lot about not what to do.
Yeah, do not, like, we made money, but it was complete shenanigans to the point where we filmed a pilot. And we started pitching it to like Bravo. He was pitching it to Bravo, and he had another person to connect and everything. But yeah, so he hired an actor.
Had a tenant, a potential tenant that came in, and they were trying to get him to sign the exclusive agency agreement.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't sign it. It was giving me a hard time, and I was going.
Yeah. I threw him out. I actually threw him out. I remember doing that. Yeah, he still talks about that. But on that note, though, so like even though it was somewhat of a, it was definitely a shit show.
Yeah.
But how many clients do you have today that you developed back at Gotham days?
Yeah, I have one of my Hoboken landlords was 2009. I just called him on Craigslist. Mm-hmm. And the amount of transactions and buildings and everything, like there's so many things that just came from doing that.
Well, that's the thing is we learned a lot of the things not to do.
Right.
But it was also a lot of things that we were doing that I try to tell agents today is about, like, if it wasn't for doing those rentals in Hoboken, I wouldn't have done the business I've done today and have those relationships you're talking about, which, I just got a home under contract right here in Morristown from a referral from one of my first, Hoboken clients that I sold them a condo and then helped them sell it and then helped them buy a house in Montclair. Got my general contractor's license when the pandemic hit, and I renovated their master bathroom. So, and now they referred me to probably 3 clients over the last year. So I've known those people 12, 13 years.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
Gotham days.
But like we joke about how much we messed around and had fun, but we were when we would work for that, like we'd have that hour of power for 2 hours or something, or even every single day where we're posting on Craigslist or reaching out to the landlords and actually prospecting around it. We weren't too heavy into the sales side of things, but there was a lot of action behind it. And then our weekends were jammed. Like we worked. We were out showing. I remember I would have like 8 different clients out on a Saturday, all showing rentals. And you could rent like 4 apartments on one day and make like, $8,000, $12,000. Like there was a rush to it. And we'd be at the end of the day, we'd be sitting in the office and talking about like how many deals you do, blah, 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 blah. And then Jim, we'd all go have a beer and Jimmy would go home. You'd come out and
you literally would do the math, like how much did I make today? And that's what my bar tab would be.
Yeah, just boom.
Well, I still have those Excel spreadsheets, so I could pull those up and tell you exactly. Like I think there was a month where I did like 22,000 at a 50-50 split.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I was
like,
that
50,
was wild.
so it's like, I think it was like 12 rentals or something like that. And a lot of them were, you guys know, was
they were double enders.
Well, those the buildings, right? So they were opening all those new buildings in Weehawken on the waterfront.
Yeah.
And you'd basically escort your client into there, and then the leasing agent would take over, and I'd be sitting there eating ice cream, with my clients, looking at these brand new apartments, which were gorgeous. And I kind of, I'd show them other inventory to be able to kind of say, hey, this is the best option for you, and they agreed all the time. Because that was my claim to fame.
But you were smart though about like, and you did the same thing. Like you guys developed relationships with the people at the buildings, and I guess it doesn't matter if it's sales or rentals. If you develop relationships with people at the buildings. I remember there was like 1 or 2 times where like I was in the office and I was like, oh man, $3,000 a month for X amount or whatever. And I remember you looked at me one time because I think you were out of appointments for the day and you're like, I'm gonna throw you a bone. 1,000 Jefferson, they just brought him down to $3,000 for the day, no fee. And I feel like you closed like 4 of them already.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. You had to get there because you knew the competition, right? Like I knew Kyle was going there, and he was finding out because he had the same relationships.
Remember Derek and Allison?
Exactly.
He's like, my boy's Derek,
right? Because he had the relationship with Derek. I mean, I had one, but you were on top of your stuff, and you're like, I'm gonna throw you a bone right now. And
if I had a good weekend,
3,000.
You want to help somebody out, and you're like, okay, well, I don't have anybody for that right now.
Yeah.
And you knew if you had a client, which there was always a kind of a general, standard tenant that was looking for, washer, dryer. They had the kind of unlimited budget, so to speak. And they were willing to go into the luxury range, and they wanted the parking and the washer and dryer and the elevator building with the amenities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But depending on which of those buildings had, vacancies, they were offering some pretty good incentives with, the no broker fee and everything else. And you knew that was like a hook, line, and sinker.
It was like a done deal, right?
And remember, it would be like, put the app in now. It'd be like, no, 3,000. 2 months free, 12-month amortization. You're like, that's $2,500. I know, and they're paying the fee.
It's going to happen in 13 months.
Exactly.
$99 surety deposit. Remember, like when those came around?
Yeah.
Oh, Bozzuto, that was huge when they started revamping their apartments and started offering some incentives and the sure deposit.
Yep.
Then I had relationships with Allied, who had a bunch of those lower end,
applied
apartments. And then there was another company, I forget the woman's name, but it was me and like
Lily
Pollock.
Lily.
I had Lily.
404
Lily,
Jeff.
Yeah. So somehow I got Louie.
Yeah, Louie. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Those are like all your clients.
for a while.
Louie.
It was me and Paul. Was it 406 grand or something like that? Patricia. They had like the Patricia.
That was him. That was Luli.
Yeah, that was Louie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a patrician. That's right. Yeah, they had all those low level. Those are not the best
I
apartments.
had like buckets of keys at that point. They were just giving you keys.
Yep.
In the Liberty Realty rental agents would be like yelling at us and stuff. Like, you got the keys to.
Which is amazing because there was no.
Where's 406
there was no
Jeff?
super lock boxes back then.
No.
Right? So do you remember double parking?
Just like whatever was in my drawer.
Getting like towed, getting like boots on my car, tickets just from double parking, just to pick up 5 or 6 sets of keys from different brokerage offices, and then having to return those at the end of the day. It's like, and you just did it. Got in a routine, like you said, on Saturdays.
It was such a zoo, man.
I had an appointment from 10 a.m. on the hour every hour up until like 2 o'clock, and literally I'd have like groups of tenants in there signing leases as I was taking the next group out. They were getting their checks and signing the little Jevons was running their credit. And getting their.
I forgot he would do that.
Yeah, he would run the credit. He would finish out the
like
deal.
Like,
Jimmy was on his next one. We were like buzzing in and out. But what's funny is there was no. I mean, showing time existed back then.
Yeah.
But we didn't have showing time.
We had showing book. Remember that one?
We had showing book, right?
Showing book, yeah.
But that's like a big thing because that, again, it's like Wild West type of stuff. Because it was like whoever had the keys to the patrician had the keys to the whole building. And if that person disappeared.
And there was skeleton key. You could go to the wrong unit.
Skeleton key. Yeah, there was a skeleton key. You could just go into any unit. If that person had the keys, nobody was showing the patrician that day until you could get in touch with that person.
Many times.
And you didn't really know who it was because there was a sign out book, but there was no showing time. You know what I mean? So
it's crazy.
Well, there was no lockbox to track who the previous agent was who had went in there. So you'd call a couple agents and be like, I don't have it. I put them back.
Yeah. Or you have clients in the car and you pick up keys from 525 Jeff from Liberty, and she's like, here's a post-it. It's one of these 7 realtors has the key right now. And I'm like, they just handed it off and you're calling them and texting. I got my clients in the backseat.
That was when you were all
Tent and Jeff, cool. I'll come pick them up. Stay there.
Yep. Yeah, just hang out in the car. They're there for like 15 minutes. You're calling a bunch of realtors. Like,
forget about
what the hell's going on here, guys?
And then it was middle of winter, and you'd have snowbanks in Hoboken parking situations where people were like opening my car door and slamming into like a snowbank, and you're like, trying to find.
You got hit by a cyclist.
Oh yeah,
remember that?
I
on
lost,
2nd and Bloom.
One time I thought I was going to jail. I lost it on one of the guys.
He just ran a stop sign.
Put a boot on my car.
Oh.
And I came out of a listing appointment. I didn't get the listing because it was an old guy and he was just kind of wasting time. And I come out and he just had slapped a sticker on my windshield, and I had to go to the next appointment.
It's an awful feeling.
And I just lost it on the guy. I think that's the first time I thought like, all right, I'm going to lose it.
At least.
Yeah, that was. Now was that the boot that you type in the code? You can call it and type in.
You have to call the company.
You have to pay
have them, and then they come out to take the boot off.
Yeah,
you have to take the boot, put it in your trunk, and drop it off.
Drop it off. 2nd and Hudson.
It was so insult to injury.
Right.
On top
was
of it, right?
Was that you that like threw, or maybe somebody else? Somebody literally threw the boot. Somebody was telling me that across. Like Hoboken was good because they had the code eventually where you could just pay it over the phone. Right. You punch the code in, you bring the boot to the municipal garage.
That's when I came back to Gotham that day, and we got parking spots at Archstone.
That's right.
Literally, we got so fed up after that.
Yeah.
I was like,
my car got hit in that garage.
I left my car running when I did that.
Remember when we were on the corner right there too, and the cop came in. He's like, "You guys got to move your car. There's, we're illegally parked or whatever." And it's just sitting out. The cop's like, "It's running. Like, move your car."
That. He comes in. So there was a liquor store next to Piccolo's.
Yeah.
Right. The Piccolo's right there. So we had been up to, I think we were at like Madison's or something like that. We were at a few bars, and then I don't know how I found out about this, but I was like, they got late night tacos at that liquor store. So they were shit tacos, and we're sitting there eating, and this guy, this cop,
we took the girls there for a
in the
date.
door, and he goes, "Who's got the white Hyundai out there?" And I was like, "I do." He's like, "You're out of your fucking mind." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "You left your car running in a bus lane." Like,
and the bus is stuck in the intersection sideways.
I walk out, man, and I'm like, I see the scene, and I'm like, I should run. Like, I should just run right now.
Well, we're sitting there, and you were completely fine to be driving, but like there's a beer on the table and stuff like that. And Steve's like, "Is this guy about to arrest me if I move the car, or like what do I do?" But yeah, he just wanted you to move the car.
Well, I was looking, because I looked at him. He's standing outside, and I was like, "Sir, just so you know, the car is not running right now." And he's like, "Move your goddamn car!" I was like, you're telling me to start the car and move it, right? And he's like, I don't care what you do. Just get the car out of here. And I was like, okay. And I turned the key and I was expecting to be like, gotcha. You know? But then he was just looking at me like, what are you still doing here? And I just like drove around the corner and parked and then came walking back and you guys were eating tacos. Like, we thought you were going to be in jail.
Yeah. Wasn't that worried, but you know.
Yeah, nobody cared.
No, we kept eating the tacos. But you guys, I mean, you what's the two of you combined, I feel like do a really good job of, like, you've left such an impression on your clients that they continue to work with you. You have these deep relationships that go back to 2008, 2009, or 2009, you guys both started. But with that, you get the phone calls. You still have, like right now, you'll do your 15 million, 20 million a year. Like you're cranking well beyond, and same with you, what a normal realtor aspires to do. But like you've really gotten into video, right? Like you're connecting with your database through educational videos, and then they're contacting you back through that, right?
100. That's 100% of what I do.
99% or 100?
It's
It really
100,
is. Yeah, you don't even pick up the phone. You just no. I'm just
I push those forward. But yeah, it's 100% of what I do. It shouldn't be like if you're trying to develop or grow your business, you don't want it to be 100%. But yeah, I got to a point where I was like, I'm comfortable and happy in this zone here. I have enough free time that if I just go the video route,
yeah,
that was for me the way to do it.
Well, it works well because you definitely work. You put in the time. Now that's nurturing the clients that you already have, and then that frees you up to go play in the hospitality business with your dad, or do other travel with your family. You take office often, and like you're like, hey, you want to go to Arizona? Did you go to Arizona?
No, I go on Monday.
Okay, and I'm like, I can't. Maybe you can.
Monday to Wednesday. Yeah, I mean it's just about like anything else. Like you have a strategy on what you're gonna follow up with.
Yeah, so much has
people,
changed. Right? What we were talking about for now, you're saying 100% of your business is tied to you doing educational videos. So my whole thing was always for me to become a real estate agent was all about educating the client, right? Coming from a background in mortgages to knowing about construction to being in sales. I never really wanted to be a real estate agent, right? In fact, it was kind of one foot in. For those few months when I first came over to Gotham, I was interviewing for quote unquote a real job, with the salary and stuff. And then, being on a commission only basis was like, all right, my wife at the time was saying, hey, you always make us go on houses and we're not even looking for a house to buy. Why don't you become a real estate agent? I'm like, I don't really like real estate agents. The ones I was meeting in open houses weren't educated, right? Knew more than they did. So I was like, all right, if I'm going to do this thing and become a real estate agent and help people buy and sell the most expensive asset, I'm going to come from an educational background. I'm going to really listen to what they're looking for, educate them. So the fact that you're doing that, I was doing that one person at a time. So to be able to capture people in a wide range by doing an educational video is something that's pretty much you have to be doing, right? And those are the things, we talk about what we learned to do and what not to do at Gotham, which, I hate to admit, but my CRM was a Excel spreadsheet. Yeah. And now there's like really high tech CRMs that are text messaging people, and I was like, well, people know where to find me. Yeah. That was kind of my mindset was, if you touch enough people and you do right by enough people, they'll spread the word for you, which is exactly what had happened. For the last 13 years, that's happened. Mm-hmm. But then as family and getting tied up and running around and get burnt out 7 days a week, it's about kind of, in order to grow that business, not just doing one thing, that was my one thing. And it worked really well for a long period of time. But it's about doing those videos and tapping your database on a regular basis and a bunch of other things that you could probably shed a lot of light on those things.
Well, even going back to that, like, remember we were renting the 3-bedroom apartments. Figure you're the listing agent, or you have somebody, like, you're receiving, 9 inquiries in regards to it. And all the roommates are on the emails, and then so that's 9 times 3, that's 27 clients that are coming into your database that specifically want to live in Hoboken or Jersey City or whatever. Like, we worked a pretty small market at that time.
And these were usually professionals that were making really good money in New York City and around that. Budgets. And boy meets girl. Next thing you know, they're renting either a much more expensive apartment or buying a condo, and then eventually, they're not going to stay there long, because they're going to have children, they're going to move to one of the train line towns, which is what happened organically. But to capture the 27 people versus the 3 that would call me back and remembered me, were like, hey, you were great, I want to work with you. I wasn't really capturing all those
And
other people that I could.
I think for young agents, that's important to note, because like if we had captured all of those leads that we didn't close for rentals, and then just really worked them through a CRM system, I mean, you would have had such a huge database of people that purchased down the line.
Yeah, man,
you know?
thousands of people.
Yeah.
I was renting 110 apartments a year,
Yeah.
and you had to meet like 400 or 500 people to rent 100 apartments.
And we would I mean,
then there was multiple people. It's 2 or 3 bedroom apartments to your point, so that's like thousands of people, right?
You're multiplying that. And I remember getting like a little salty, like when you thought somebody was going to rent something and they didn't, and I would just let them disappear, and they probably ended up renting something and then buying something the next year. And
Well,
selling
that's a
that
great
and
point. So
buying it.
right before I came here to meet with you guys, I met with a very good friend of mine, who's a builder, and we've done some stuff together. And him and his wife were looking for an apartment in Hoboken, and I showed him a bunch of places, and they ended up renting at the Madison by themselves. They walked in there, and he became one of my best friends.
Yeah.
So, I never rented him anything. He had called me back a few months after they got into their place, like, "Hey, it was really great meeting with you and working with you. I feel bad that we never rented anything through you." But then he referred me his sister-in-law.
Yeah.
And then I helped her get a place, and then gotten some countless referrals from him when he even did rent, right? So there was people that you didn't even do a transaction with, but if you built a relationship with them and you kind of followed up with them, there was a bunch of other business that came from that, and relationships and friendships. So.
The fun thing too with like the oneness and the benefit and the alliance that we get here at EXP is I now have past clients that are reaching out to get their real estate license.
Oh yeah.
And then I have past clients that are on our team, like that are coming through. I have a conversation. Actually, my 415 today is somebody I sold their condo in Hoboken, and she went and got a real estate license. So I'm gonna talk to her.
We should have a little bit of a conversation about that, because I've had the same thing over the years where people are like, "Hey man, I enjoyed working with you. It looks like a fun job." Right?
Yeah.
And so that's the funny thing about real estate is it looks really sexy from the outside looking in, right? So maybe we can kind of shed some light on the good stuff. And,
usually
we had a lot of
dawns
fun,
on
right? We were talking about early
Usually
days.
dawns on them when they see the HUD statement and they're like, "Wow, he gets paid 10 times what the attorney's getting paid."
Well, the money's good, right? We all know that a lot of agents make really good money, but it's a hard grind
Right.
in order to get that. But a lot of people think like, "Okay, it made it look so easy and working with you, I'm gonna get my license," and then they go and you're like, "Okay, we'll pick up the phone," and you're only as good as your ability to find clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can't find clients and cast that net, well, then you could be the best agent in the world, but you're out of business. Right?
Yeah.
And so those are the things that misconception. A lot of people get into the business, but you really have to be good at creating relationships. And obviously, that's what we were able to do in the early days of like doing a lot of rentals in Hoboken, because that was really the net, and then you can show off from there.
Yeah.
And that really is. It's like I feel like it's a fairly, I don't want to say easy. It's fairly easy to get like up to 6 figures kind of thing in that, and then and I feel like in corporate America it somewhat is too
These days, yeah.
these days. But then when you start to go beyond that and you start to, it's same in corporate America. It's like in our world though, you have to start building out all the systems. You have to start having that, like, because you get busy, deals die. You start to, things go sideways, and it pulls on you, where you really have to get good on everything else. And the problem with our business is you have to be like, you have to know the laws, unfortunately, and you have to
Tighter,
the negotiation. You have to be sales expert. You have to be a marketing expert. You have to be customer service. You have to be psychiatrist or psychologist.
I joke around. Yeah, these days I'm more of a doctor of real estate than I am an actual good real estate agent. I'm more of like talking people off the ledge, and it seems like things should have gotten easier over the years.
Yeah,
and it seems they've gotten more difficult, right? Because people's expectations are, I think, different than they were.
Yeah.
Prices obviously keep increasing and taxes keep going up. So to buy an average home now is $500,000-$600,000. That's a fixer upper in a pretty good town. So it's been difficult in that regard, right? Because you're talking more psychology about it seems like every deal you do these days, you have to limit home inspections, waive appraisal, go over ask.
I mean, you have to like recommend taking high risk, which is not necessarily where we want to live. But
I was talking to an agent today. Unit came up in Hoboken with outdoor space, and he's saying, "Hey, it just got listed. My client wants to offer, I think it's $25,000 under asking, but he can go up to this." And I'm like, bring your highest and best. Like come in if your client will be upset if they lose it because they left 30 grand on the table or 40 grand on the table, whereas the listing agent's telling you we're going to let it run through the weekend. We're filming this on a Thursday right now, so we're going to let it run through the weekend and we'll let you know on Monday. I'm like, why don't you try to stop it before the weekend and at least put your best foot forward, rather than coming in and basically showing the seller, hey, I'm going to try to get a deal, but if somebody else is involved, then I'll pay you more money. Versus saying, I really want to own the home that you have. This is lovely. I'm going to pay you this. And over like the difference of 40 grand or 30 grand, or like, I understand it's 100, 200, 300 a month. But it just, I don't know. It just, like when we bought our house, I was like, it is what it is. I'm going to make the seller happy, and then I'm going to go live in the home. But if you're buying investment property, it's different. You know, then it's like,
process too, right? Some people to do that out of the gate, it's very difficult, right? If you're buying your first home, let's say, and you looked at 5 homes. I remember just taking clients out in Hoboken. It was busy, and literally you'd show 3 condos, and if you didn't make a decision that day, it would be gone by the next weekend, right? And in condo living, it's, you know, the criteria is a little bit different than if you're looking in the suburbs and you have, you know, you want a basement, a larger yard in a specific neighborhood. In Hoboken, it's still broken up into neighborhoods and stuff, but 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and, you know, laundry or a walk-up building.